Welcome to your Success Tonic. If you're ready to explore what it would mean to step into your boldest, most exciting vision of success, then you're in the right place. Welcome to season 2 of your Success Tonic. There is so much great content coming up for you in the next few weeks, and I cannot wait to share it with you. Today, I want to talk to you about why you might need a better story to activate your success story. A story that aligns with your greatest gifts so that you can go out and start reaching some of your most exciting goals. So let's dive in. I want to share a story about something that happened to me last week. I was in a session with one of my clients, and we were talking about his desire to create video marketing for his business. Now, he has a lot of interesting and impactful things to share. And his area of expertise is so interesting, even to people outside of his industry, that I absolutely know that his videos would be a success. But he was telling me that he just feels awkward and tongue-tied in front of the camera, just doesn't know how to do it. Now, I'm sharing this because when he brought it up, I could so relate. I used to feel the exact same way. I would get so anxious and worried about what the people in the room were thinking about me or the audience that I was speaking to, that I would end up talking too fast or forgetting half of what I wanted to say and really just not being me. So I ended up feeling fake, and I probably seemed fake, and it really wasn't great. So I know some of you can probably relate to this as well. But fast forward to today, and it's getting easier and easier for me to be in front of an audience, in front of a camera. I truly enjoy it, actually, and I love producing my podcast. Hosting my interviews is really the highlight of my week. So how did I go from feeling super awkward talking about myself, being visible, and dreading public speaking, to now enjoying it and feeling like I'm on the path to where I get to serve at a much bigger level? So that's what I want to share with you in this episode today. You know, how to create this kind of deep shift for yourself. I believe it starts with your story. So the question is, how do I get from where I am now to that vision of success, that future self who gets those kinds of results, right? And so the first thing that you have to do is you have to intimately know your own story. You have to decide what you want to create. And this is often the most difficult part of the process, even though it sounds like it should be the easiest. So the reason it's hard is that it requires that you stop looking and focusing on what you don't want. If you focus on where you are now and who you've been up till this point, then it makes it harder to look forward and to who you're going to become. So if you find yourself saying things like, I'm so tired of having inconsistent results, or I'm so tired of disappointing myself, I can't believe I'm procrastinating again, then chances are that you are constantly putting your attention into what you don't want. You're putting attention into what you don't like, and the story of the things that you don't like starts to become bigger than the story of where you want to get to. And so that exacerbates this feeling of not being able to show up fully or authentically. It triggers that anxiety about being visible and not knowing what to say about yourself or your business, just not being connected to your story. So you have to stop constantly focusing on the story of what you don't want if you want to create your success story. So this process became so clear to me when I was juggling too many things. Back then, I was focused on a lot of different things. I had multiple priorities juggling at once. And the refrain of my days, the thing I would repeat multiple times a day was, I don't have enough time. And I hated that I couldn't control my schedule. I always felt stressed. I was rushing from one thing to the next. I hated the way that felt. But I was constantly focused on feeling rushed. I kept saying, I don't have enough time. I mean, it really was just this perpetual state of being stressed and feeling like I didn't have the thing that I most wanted. So one day I realized that if I wanted to start to have more time and freedom, I needed to stop showing up like a stressed out person with no time. I had to change these old habits and these mental patterns. They were so familiar, but they were keeping me really, really stuck. So I know from experience, believe me, that if you keep building based on your past alone and your past assumptions and your past patterns, you will keep yourself stuck, no matter how hard you work. When we pay attention to our story and we start to mine it for the right details, it's almost like a compass. It will guide you in the direction of the work that you most need to do in the world. It's going to show you the way forward, how to bring your mission forward into the world. It gives you your unique voice. It points you to where your leadership is most needed in the world. So your story provides direction and meaning and purpose to you personally and to your business. And, so getting clear on your story allows for more connection. It also gives you more confidence and clarity. Now, if you think I'm overstating this, I am going to tell you a little bit more about the power of story. So narrative theory and narrative therapy is based around the central concept that storytelling is not just part of our human culture, it's part of our being. Because we internalize our experiences, right? So we process information through storytelling. Narrative is a basic human strategy for coming to terms with fundamental elements of our experience. So story is a fundamentally human way of making meaning. Let's break this down a little bit further. The stories we create also create our identity. They're a cornerstone of how we see our place in the world and how we understand ourselves. So when we start telling a story about our life or our business that deeply means something to us, where we're actually on a mission to achieving something and using our greatest strengths to get there, then we have a tool that allows us to make a meaningful difference in the world. So we all want to be involved in a story that's bigger and deeper than ourselves. And when you position your work as addressing a problem in the world, you start to write a story. A story that shapes the reason for why you do the work you do. It shapes the reason for your company's existence, both for yourself and in the minds of your clients and your employees. So the very starting point is to ask yourself and really be brutally honest, why am I doing this work in the world? And why does it matter? And the answer to that question is a powerful story, and it's one that we all want to hear. The stories we tell both to ourselves and to others actually trigger the human brain to release either cortisol, which is that stress chemical, or oxytocin, which is the feel-good chemical. So your story isn't just narrative. A story is made up of facts, certainly, but it's also made up of feelings and interpretations, which means that your story is also an experience. And so when we tell a story that matters to us, that excites us, it does create these genuine connection points. So we connect emotionally to our audience, our clients, our listeners. But it goes even deeper than that. So think about what happens when you make a new friend, right? When we make new friends, we engage them in conversation, right? We want to find out as much about them as possible, right? So what do? We ask questions and we listen to their stories and we tell our stories in return. Now, research indicates that the human brain responds to stories in profound ways. They affect both the sensory and the motor cortex. And when we share a story with another person, we share an experience. And so something extraordinary happens, something that scientists call neural coupling. So this is when a speaker and a listener share a story and their brain activity becomes synchronized, or what Uri Hassan calls aligned. Now, the net effect of neural coupling is trust. By telling a story, you have the opportunity to create connection and generate trust. When we discover similar experiences, goals, and values, that's when we connect deeply. And we will fight for those people. We will take care of them. And we know that they will do the same for us. So a personal example comes to mind here, right? When I first met my husband, we were very young and we stayed up 5 days straight talking and sharing our stories. And it created such a powerful connection between us. And we are still married 22 years later. So there's got to be something to be said for sharing your story, because it does create this bond, right? Stories produce trust. But not just any story will do. You must tell a story that produces successful neural coupling. And to do that, you need to know what key elements to include. So the reason that this is important is that our story does need to be a little aspirational. It does need to be leading us to a place that we are excited to get to, right? It's going to drive everything you do, and it's going to enlist the support of the people who are listening to that story. So knowing the parts of your story that matter most will also help you understand your gifts and their relevancy to others. And knowing how that connects with others is going to help you launch your life's work into the world. Your story will point you directly to where your leadership is needed in the world. The parts that make you uncomfortable, and the parts that fill you with joy, and the parts that fill you with shame, and the parts that make you happy. All of it, without exception. And that is not easy. That is a process. I know from experience that that is not an easy process to go through. So it's fantastic to have someone to guide you through it. But when you dive into your story and you fully embrace it, you also become able to embrace your unique advantage. So this means that you identify and embrace your unique strengths, your expertise, your experience, your perspective, and the unique value that you bring. And so when you do that, you start to stand out to your clients, to those perfect fit clients, the ones that are perfect for you. Because you start to bring something that cannot be replicated by anyone else. So you have to have that process of being radically honest with yourself and creating that clarity. And then when you do that in business, you start to have marketing and offers and content that is so much more potent and so much more compelling. And you don't feel like you're in competition with others anymore because you are in a category of one. You have your story to help you stand out. And it doesn't matter if there are hundreds of people in your niche or thousands of people there, because you bring you. And each of us is perfectly and uniquely able to impact the world in our own way. But this does require the ability to stand out by really standing for something. And that means that we own who we are and who we're not. And that means being okay with saying things and doing things and being things that aren't going to be universally liked. So I'll give you a personal example, right? As you know, I'm a business coach, and there are about 1 million business coaches out there, right? So when you're in a field like that, you really have to explore what makes you different so that you can stand out to your perfect clients. Now, for me, that took time, and it became clearer over time through this process of searching and being guided through it. But, once I was able to identify my unique value, I was able to create momentum. Because people do want to know, they want to have that reason to connect with you over someone else, right? They want to know that you are the right match for them. So in my business, instead of putting myself in the giant category of business coaches, generically, I've narrowed my approach down to success coaching, which is a unique blend of top-tier business strategy and life coaching, so that I help you bring your personal vision and values into your work so that it fully aligns, your business plan and your life plan fully aligned. And I tell you what, that gives you so much clarity and power when you do that. So this is fantastic for the clients that I have who want just that, but it automatically turns away people who are not interested in this approach, right? So when you're leveraging your unique advantage and you differentiate yourself in that way, you have to be okay with turning people away. That is part of the strategy. So that is why we tell our story in a way that feels really clear. And so what I do is I help my clients uncover their story, their uniqueness, and I help them leverage their story and their strengths so that they can build wildly successful businesses, and they can experience success in a holistic and empowering way. And they feel that their business is an expression of themselves, and it stands out authentically and naturally. So there are always ways to differentiate yourself. So, be thinking about your unique story. When I used to help businesses design and build brands, I would always dive deep with my clients and get them to identify, what is the experience you want to create? What is the vibe? What are your brand personality traits? What are your brand values? And are these truly infused into your business brand visually and in the words that you use on your website and in all your communications? Do people know what these characteristics really are? Are they even obvious after just 3 seconds on your website? So I'd really encourage you to look at your own qualities and let them infuse fully into your business. It's one of the fastest ways to draw in those really ideal clients. I believe that when driven entrepreneurs and leaders align with a story that they really want to step into, one where they get to be the person that they're proud to become. When we do that, we become unstoppable. Because the truth is, when you invite people into a story that means something to you, you start to tell a message that can inspire others and spread as a result. You're not just growing a business, you're growing a message that means something. That's how you build reach and genuine impact. So, is your business ready for a new story? If so, I want to invite you to explore the links in the show notes or the blog post for some helpful resources and links, including my free messaging makeover, which you can download right away. Have a great week, everyone. Are you ready to supercharge your message? Using the Messaging Makeover Guide, you can revamp your message in just 20 minutes so you can attract and reach more clients. Download it for free at storytonic.co/makeover.